Ladies and gentlemen, we are all here together for better education, outstanding leadership, transformation for Africa, and youth engagement. I believe all these words are not enough to define our first, special, and bright guest, Dr. Patrick Awuah. Wikipedia defines him as an entrepreneur leader, some friends as a very oriented, detailed human being. After my research, I conclude by adding that Dr. Patrick Awuah is one of Africa's most relevant leaders for the change that we want to see, that the world wants to see. Why? You might be asking. Because he believes in the power of the youth and he invests on them. He invests on them for a brighter Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open our minds and soul. Let's be open. Let's allow ourselves to be inspired by this incredible leader who has been paving the paths for the youth to shine and brighten Africa. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency, invited guests, and dear Yali fellows, I was asked to come and talk about transformational leadership and the kind of leadership that I think Africa needs to get to the next level. Now, if I had to just sum it all up, I think that the most important thing that any leader in Africa should focus on is building our human capital. Societies advance not on the basis of raw materials, but on the basis of human endeavor. And so to the extent that we can enhance the capabilities of all African countries and all our people, then we will create transformation on our continent. So that's basically the framework that I kind of operate in. I thought I would spend this morning actually giving an illustration that's a little different than what people usually hear me talk about. I have been practicing the martial arts since my first year in college. So I've been doing this for a very long time. And I think that there's some very important lessons from my practice of the martial arts that guide not only my practice there, but also my life and my leadership that I want to share with you this morning. At the beginning and end of every class, we affirm in every dojo that I've been in the Shotokan discipline, an affirmation, and it's simply this: seek perfection of character, be faithful, endeavor, respect others, refrain from violent behavior. And I've been repeating these words for over 30 years. Every week, over 30 years. Seek perfection of character. Now that's the first thing that we talk about, and I just want to point out, it's interesting, think about the martial arts, it's about combat, self-defense, justice. It's about skill and perfecting a particular skill. And yet nothing in the mantra that we say have anything to do with skill. In fact, the first thing we say talks about seeking perfection of character. Not seeking perfection of skill, but of character. And why is that? And why do we say to seek instead of to find? Why isn't the mantra find perfection of character? achieve it. Because perfection is impossible. Purity is impossible. And perfection sometimes is even difficult to define. So let me illustrate a few examples of the values that we all think about when we think about good character. Moderation, humility, courage, loyalty, honesty, simplicity, patience, generosity. There are many more, of course. What is perfect humility? Mother Teresa was perfectly humble. What is perfect generosity? As a leader, do you get absolutely humble to the point where you become meek, for example? What about patience? As a leader, should we always be patient? I know that I'm patient about a lot of things, but there are some things that I must be impatient about. And so even defining what perfection is not always easy. And this is why we talk about a search. We are searching for it. We're reaching for it. And we probably will never find it, but by seeking for it, we will achieve excellence. We will transform ourselves, and we will transform the people around us. So that's the first thing we talk about, seek perfection of character. And the day you stop seeking that is the day that you get off the path of being a good leader or a good martial artist. Be faithful. What does that mean? Well, we could say that that means loyalty, dedication to a cause. Loyalty. Do we recognize that the relationship exists between us and others? Do we recognize it? And do we value that relationship? Do we place a value on it? And do we let it guide our work and our life? That's faithfulness, being loyal to a cause, being loyal to others. Endeavor, effort, persistence, perseverance. When we go to the dojo and we train very hard, at the end of the class, towards the end of the class, is when you really know the spirit of the dojo and the spirit of the people in it. When we're exhausted, when we must reach into something deeper within us to keep going. That is what endeavor is about. And it is also, by the way, about this search for good character. Being steadfast, having courage, pushing yourself, helping others who are struggling, and helping them push themselves. That is how I interpret this word, endeavor. Respect others. Even in a discipline that is about combat, that is about facing an opponent, it is important to respect everyone, to respect those with whom you disagree, to respect your opponent, and of course, to respect yourself. If you don't respect yourself, it's hard to respect others. And finally, refrain from violent behavior. This is very interesting. Most people, when they think about the martial arts, think about the application of violence to a cause. But that's not really what it's about. It's about, at its most profound level, it's about the way we think. It's about our thoughts. To refrain from violent behavior first means to refrain from violent thought. And this is true not just about the martial arts, it's true about everything. That there's a saying that you must be careful about your thoughts because they become your words. You must be careful about your words because they become your actions. You must be careful about your actions because they become your habits. You must be careful about your habits because they become your character. And so we come back to this idea of character. To seek perfection of character also means to be faithful, to endeavor, to respect others, and to mind your thoughts. Because your character becomes your destiny. And this is why we're here to talk about transformational leadership in Africa. The character of our leaders becomes the character not only of those leaders as individuals, but they become the character of our nations. And the character of our nations determine our destiny. So it's incredibly important as we move forward as young leaders, thinking about the good society we want to create in Africa, that we start with ourselves. And we start not only in thinking about our own personal interests, but we think about the common good, that we begin by thinking not only about our knowledge and our skills, but we focus on our character, that we think not only about the intellectual capabilities in the organizations that we run, but the institutional cultures of the organizations that we run. And some of you will become not only leaders of companies and organizations, but leaders, political leaders of nations. The character of the leader trickles down into a nation and becomes the destiny of a nation. And I wanted to share these words with you this morning because, usually when I do these talks, I talk about education and I talk about the work I do at the university and sort of the intellectual discourse and conversations that we have there. It recently occurred to me, this thing that I started in university, the martial arts, and how that has stayed with me through my life, not only in helping me be sort of physically fit and so on, but also something that actually bleeds into all the work that I do and the way I operate, and why it is that I've stayed with it, is that it is these deeper things about the art that I find so elegant and so graceful and so important. And I thought I'd share those words with you this morning. Thank you very much.